Hello everybody, second speaker, time to wake up. I am B2C, not B2B, and I've got a lot to share with you. So let's see if I can get it done in 25 minutes, but I guarantee you won't be bored. So I have named this presentation with my team the beginning, the middle, and the never-ending journey, because that really is what content marketing is. You are never finished, it's never quite good enough. My team are here today and we're going, oh no, we don't like that post, let's pull it down. That's just the world we live in, and I think if you don't have the focus on great, then you're never going to do great content. So I'm going to walk you through our journey, and let's start with the beginning and how we started. So I've been in my role for 13 months now, and I joined IAG, as you heard, from TV and a strong publishing background. I do believe that a beginning in print is a great place to be a content marketer. You learn a lot. We work on big brands. Today I'm really going to focus on NRMA because, again, you cannot do everything at once in your content journey. So when I started, we sat down with the team and we said, let's fix our biggest brand in content, and we're about to move into CGU. So again, if you're going to do this stuff properly, it isn't always as fast as you want it to be. So great content definitely needs a content strategy. I really, really believe and love this quote: content without strategy is stuff, and the world has enough stuff. We've found in mobile phones, screen usage, we really are competing for people's time. And I promise you, they're not really that excited about hearing from an insurance company every single day. So that is our challenge in our category, is to make our content interesting. You also need a content team. So again, when I started, we had some wonderful people with zero content production in-house. And if we're going to create content on the fly and respond to audiences and community manage, you really do need a content team. We had a great social team. But so that was my first job, really, to look at, okay, what do we need and how do we need to? And there's the team up there now that we have, and some of them back at the office. What do we really need? So we had platform experts, that's great. We needed social producers, we needed content creators, we needed videographers, we needed editors, and we definitely needed writers. So I'll talk to you a bit more about that in the meantime. So build a content team internally is always my advice. Obviously, we work with content agencies. One of our agencies, Storyation, is here today, but you can't do it all yourself internally, and you definitely can't do it all externally if you really want to be in the content marketing space. So we're lucky that we got headcount to do that and hire the right people. Great content is only about the people that create it. I think everybody forgets this, and it drives me mad, but everyone becomes a producer overnight. The finance guy wants to comment on your videos. The CEO wants to have a look at things. You know, the guy from the mailroom wants to tell you what's wrong with your article. So I think you've got to really make sure that you back your content team and try and limit the noise about what good content is and decide yourself what actually makes great. And you need a studio. Well, you don't need a studio, but at IAG we're very lucky to budget for this and actually build an internal content studio. And the reason that I believe in this is because content doesn't just live in the marketing department. Content lives across the whole business and the whole company. And I think as content marketers, that really is our job to spread that mentality. Internal content, which Luke and my team really focuses on, is just as important as external content. So, and is there really a difference? I'd question. So we were lucky enough to build a studio. It's called Collab. It services 13,000 staff members at IAG, and it's really there to not only help marketing, we produce through it sometimes, but not always, to really help people and culture and human resources and data and analytics, and all those people look great when they're doing content as well. A lot of it may be only used in a B2B space, as we heard our previous speaker say, but it's really important. So take a look at this.
It's 9:45.
So that's a team of 10. They have brand writers, designers, an editor, a videographer. We're about to hire a motion graphics person to actually create content in a content studio servicing the broader business. They've created, I think, 5,000 pieces of content in 6 months since they've been built and since we put them internally. And we do that on a model with Che Proximity. So again, the advertising agency runs the studio within our company, and they sort of work with me and my team as well. So very lucky to have that at IAG, but it's been a real game changer for our business. So I would argue if you can get the money and build a business case for it and you have the scale to definitely do that, it's very much worth the investment, and it's saved us a lot of money. We're also very fortunate to have a social command centre. So we put all of this infrastructure in place before we actually really started creating content. And the reason that I did it that way is I could never justify what the benefit of content was going to do unless we could measure it. So it's real time, it's a bespoke build, it's called Jerry's Social Command Centre because he had this in train, and we launched it 5 months ago, and this has been a game changer. If you cannot measure your content and show what results and what success it's doing, you will not get the budget the following year. So we have everyone from board members at every level looking at this, and they are fascinated by it. We're going to build out the richness of it, what it tells us. It's got NPS, it's got share of voice, and this is live. So we're seeing from Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, what everybody is doing, what content's working, and my team are constantly looking at this and pulling stuff down and putting stuff up and pulling it down and changing it. It's so insightful, and we're about to make it a lot bigger and better. But let me tell you, that has definitely got interest from our entire business, and probably been, apart from having the studio, the best tool to get everybody into content marketing and understanding its benefits. So like I said, we're lucky. We built all the resources while we were building our content strategy. So what I'm going to show you now is the journey that we've taken our biggest brand that I'm sure you all know and love, called NRMA, on. So this is something that I got asked a lot when I first started. It's probably something that I change my mind on every couple of years as content evolves, but this is where I'm at this year. So really defining the difference between advertising and content. And I think it's very important to do that. So we really believe that advertising, and I'll show you some of the ads that got us to our content strategy in a minute, is about the message, and it's very telling. You've got to, you're telling, you're selling something. Content's role alongside and around advertising, and the two live beautifully together, is definitely must be about stories and showing. So there's always an education piece or a message or a feeling to our content. We're actually not selling anything, and we try and make that a big point of our content strategy and our point of difference. This is the TVC.
NRMA Insurance is one of Australia's oldest and most trusted companies. Yet it had lost its purpose and heart, and it was losing customers and policies. Its advertising was disappearing into the slapstick comedy of the insurance category. It showed Australians as hapless, helpless, hopeless fools. There was also growing mistrust of insurers, culminating in a royal commission into the industry. To restore credibility and trust, NRMA Insurance had to rediscover who it really was. Our new marketing team changed the brand strategy, the brief, the agency, and the creative. We delivered a new brand campaign in under 6 months, based on a powerful and enduring idea still at the heart of NRMA. That idea was help. Drawing from a rich pool of real and authentic NRMA insurance and everyday Australian moments of help, we launched the Help Is Who We Are campaign. On TV, we brought to life moments of help, both big and small.
I will kiss you in 4 places. As I go running along the street, I will squeeze the life right from you. You will bring life right in. Never forget it. You will make me call your name, and I'll shout it's the blue summer sky.
get the picture. So the role for content, if we're going to go out and spend all this money on a big above-the-line campaign and we position our brand as help, what is the role of content? And that was really our challenge, to define that pretty quickly in and around the message and getting the difference between that telling that we're helpful and showing that we're helpful. So that was our strategic approach. And the first thing that we did was obviously think like marketers, because that's what most of us are, but act like publishers. And I think this harks back to my day in print and the power of the written word, the editorial curation, and knowing what good and great is, and really being strict around the rigor of what you publish. I would rather not publish anything than publish something that's substandard. And I drive people mad with that, but you have to be meticulous. So acting like publishers, like I said, we work with Storiation to really figure out where is that space around help. And our strategy was more than 200 pages long, so I'm really just giving you a condensed version of that today. Be where our customers are. So audience and platform targeting is probably the other rule that we start with. As we're reinventing one of our other brands right now, we're actually reverse designing the content to be from the distribution platform. So people keep wanting to talk about what's the idea, and we keep saying, where's the content going to live? So you really have to flip your thinking in this world, especially at the pace. And when we sat back and looked at the insurance category, it was the same, no different. We all looked exactly the same. Nobody was really telling stories about people, and we're competing for people's time. And there's wonderful content creators out there that people actually do want to hear from, like Qantas AWOL, Business Insider, Top Gear, Red Bull. So that's the space you're working in. We don't sit back and judge our category as the finance industry or the insurance industry. We're looking at the top 20 brands and what they're doing and how do we compete there for people's time. And I'd advise that everyone takes that approach as well. Win in your category first and then move beyond. 2% of people actually care or are looking for insurance at any one time. That is not a lot. So the category and the way that we have to speak and cut through is really, really important. And this is one of my favourite quotes as well. After nourishment, shelter and companionship, stories are the things we need most in the world. So they were all the inputs that really helped with our strategy. And then the next thing that we did do that we really believe in, and everything is different for CGU that we're doing at the moment, completely different. But what is the role of content? What are you trying to achieve? And once you publish this, you have to stay very, very true to it. So again, setting that premise and that framework, we are absolutely rigorous to not go off this framework, and we just don't put stuff out there that doesn't fit within it. So the role of content, I think this is my video, let me have a look. Yeah, no. It's not. So going back to that model that I showed you before, in the advertising, help is who we are is what we claimed. We're establishing the credentials of help against our competitors. So from the content strategy point of view, the content we show piece, we were demonstrating how NRMA could be associated with help. And we split that into two wheels that go quite deep over a number of pages. So we were going to do stories of help beyond insurance. Where is that role of the community newspaper? Who's sharing great positive stories about what people are doing? We were going to fulfill that space. Then we moved into how do we show NRMA as helpful people or a helpful business? And that became the other pillar that we were going to publish to. And then of course, help is what we do. Like I said, internal comms plays a huge role in your content strategy. If you cannot get advocates internally, then I dare say you will not get advocates externally as well. So beginning to show how we help every day and telling positive stories of our staff that were doing great, helpful work became absolutely critical. So here's what we did. So we didn't talk about insurance at all. We talked about people, because that is what people like to hear from in social media. Some of these stories are about people who have lost limbs and helped, people that have been drowning and seen an opportunity to help, people that work in foster care. So we're going out around the country with Storyation, finding those news stories and telling stories of help that actually matter to people in their social feed. This is the other rule that we work with, which is the right content for the right platform. So out of every single piece of content that we publish under this help banner, we produce about 15 other pieces. YouTube, Instagram, print, online, So one story gets about 15 different iterations across 15 different platforms. And that's very, very important. Right now, the help stories are actually, and this is what makes me very proud, to be honest, when content marketing below the line in digital actually then pushes back up above the line. So our stories of help are now going to be an ad campaign wrapping the Today Show, and we're putting them on outdoor billboards as well. So I think that's the power. If you get this right, it sits really seamlessly with your advertising as well to deepen that engagement. I'll just run you through the content really quickly. So we took over Instagram. We decided that Instagram was our channel for help. We publish nothing else on it. We do not deviate from it. And you can see there's a lovely consistency within what we do. We were putting pictures of cactuses up and beach umbrellas and sunglasses, which to an insurance company isn't really relevant. So we ditched that. It worked for a while, but we moved on. We obviously then create content for Facebook, which is square format, sound off, closed captioning, under 60 seconds, all those rules that we need to be publishing to. YouTube, obviously a different edit, sound on, landscape, quick little introduction.
I'm 10 years old and I want to be a Olympic hire and a farmer.
Getting our branding up there in 6 seconds, as we heard. Little cinemagraphs work beautifully as well. So Jack comes to life when he's on Instagram stories, as do all our others. So you can see how the content sort of disseminates across each platform. And with that social command center, it really helps us decide how much spend goes behind each post. And we look at that all the time and play with it. And we do have a limited budget. So we're actually seeing great traction with the team in organic now as well. Our social platforms are all paid, as we know, but if you get your content right over time, you can start to see that traction. There's no point doing content marketing unless it changes a customer behaviour, and a customer is always at the centre of everything we do. So we're really pleased to say that in the last 5 months since launching Help, we've gone from a number 12 share of voice within our category to number 1 pretty consistently. And that's very important to us if we're going to be top of mind in that consideration funnel to when the people are actually the 2% that are actually going to be looking for insurance at any one time. We've established a 56% share of voice with this strategy, and we've increased traffic to our hub and website threefold as well. So all very, very important stats that we're constantly monitoring. Can we show how much money it's making the company? Not yet, but hopefully we will get there. We also then, so we had our Instagram platform, which was very much about help. Facebook was the platform we decided that would show help once a week, and 2 or 3 other times we would publish NRMA as a helpful company. And so we had to work out all different formats of content and types to do that. And we used the very well-known Google Hero, Hub, and Hygiene. So I don't know if you're familiar with that framework. Hero is content that it happens, 4 or 5 times a year. You spend a lot of money on it and you really hope it works. Hub is more serialized editorial style content you probably do once a month. And then our Hygiene is stuff that we kind of have to do as an insurer, but what we didn't want to do was use it as a sales platform. So it's always from a content marketing point of view, showing how we're helpful. So here's an example of hero content. I'll just show you. It's a little gamification of who's right and wrong. And this is performing outstandingly. I can't read it here. I think almost 200,000 people it's reached, very little spend behind it, 33,000 engagements, which is huge, and 2,400 comments. It's a game. It's a traffic game. It's like you grow up with people love it. We've got an advocate that goes on there 200 times and self-monitors and tells people who's wrong. And so that kind of thing, taking your brand to the next level of help. It is helpful because it's making sure people don't have as many accidents and know the road rules. And as an insurer, that's our job. But it's not saying be safe on the road. So the angle that you come into content is very important. This is a new campaign. This is going to be in our hub framework, so we'll do this a couple of times. It's just gone live today, and this is really about bringing our advertising through our content journey. So we've put billboards all up over Easter, which are meant to be quite funny. Newcastle, 50 kilometres, and Alien 17,000. So in social, our role is to kind of tell that story in a funny way in feed and make sure people understand that it's just about being a bit safer on the roads and taking a break. And there's a whole PR strategy that will roll out today and around that. And then in our hygiene content, we get quite basic with this, and storm preparedness as an insurer is really, really important. So we created these little kind of videos to do that. There's always long form articles that go with these as well. You get the picture. Sound off, nice movement. I mean, storm preparedness is not a sexy topic either. So it's really trying to have the best creators that come up with this mad stuff to actually know what the audience wants and cut through. So I guess the takeouts, the never ending, it is an absolute journey, as I keep saying. And this is why, because the types of content that you can actually create off of the idea are never ending. We've probably played with about 5 of them. So our goal is obviously to try, if our customers and audiences are there, to do most of them. But we'll work through the next 5 priority platforms and do that. We don't have a deep YouTube strategy right now. We do push content there, we do spend a little bit. It's expensive. And I think in content you really have to pick what channels you can afford and where your audience are. So of course, I think one of our big things would be to get more budget to do a YouTube strategy, but you can't be everywhere. You have to feed these beasts. So my big tip is feed the beasts as to where your customers are as a priority. And remembering that it is your brand story. Every brand story is different. So you need a couple of things. A clear brand proposition, so help obviously is very clear and a lot easier to build a content strategy. Building a strategy without that, and I've done it in the past, is very difficult. And it often doesn't work. So that's a big call out. Understanding the landscape in paid, owned and earned and where you're actually working. Define what great content is to you. You definitely have to be looking at the world and world class, but what is it to you? Oh, sorry, that's my mic. What is it to you, and what is it to your brand, and what is it to the staff? And you really need to do that journey before you just do what you want to publish. It's very important that the whole business is on your content journey. Build an infrastructure for content to succeed. I think the temptation is to just jump into it, but if we didn't take our time with putting all those metrics and measures in place, we'd have no idea what we were doing now. So I'd really encourage, it's not a fun way to spend your money, and probably not to spend your time when you just want to make things, but it's very, very, very important. Be brutal in what you publish. We get it wrong, we get it right. We love it one week, we hate it the next, but that's the joy of being content marketers and doing what we do. And measure with rigor. Make sure your systems are in place to actually measure what your content is doing. Never settle for good. So we have this saying in our team that good is not good enough, and we're very, very, probably too harsh actually, which comes from me and our CMO around what great is. So we use the word great very sparingly. You'll notice that people come and go, oh, look at this, I've just done this, isn't it great? No, it's good. So really getting that language in your team about what good versus great actually is, or whatever your words are. And it has to be great or better if it touches the customer. That's again another big rule. Content plus content marketing is a never-ending journey, but one that I think we're all passionate about. As you could tell, I could talk for hours about it, but I hope that's given you some insight to a journey from the point of view of IAG. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, thank you so much. I was just going to ask a question about one thing that you touched on, which was limiting the noise when you have lots of people weighing in about what content can and should look like. You said that was really important, but to be honest, it's something that I really struggle to do within my own organisation because, as you said, everyone thinks they're an expert. So I was wondering if you had any tips for how you can politely, respectfully limit the noise and limit the scope of who and who does not have input into content production.
Boy, we struggle with this as well, right? It's very hard, and there's a tipping point where you want people to be involved and them to be proud of it, but you really don't want their opinions because you know what you're doing. So look, we don't have it perfect. I think having a plan is always the best thing, and being able to put forward plan and actually trying to create some of the content to the point that people, if you're working in reverse and you're publishing for the day, people tend to have more opinions. Whereas if you go, I've got that sorted, here's our strategy, remember, here's our plan, we're producing in the Hero Hub Hygiene, we'll have these kinds of content. Is that enough information for you? Sort of park it to the side and try and let you get on with what that looks like. So I think the planning is absolutely critical, and some frameworks people can latch onto and give them an example and then try and get out and keep going with what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's not easy. Anyone else? Yes, we're up the back there.
Hello. I just wondered how you plan to basically justify your value on this brand campaign to your client, how you will attribute revenue towards the effects that your work has done.
The wonderful thing is I am the client, so I don't have to justify it to myself, which is a beautiful thing about being on the marketing side. But you're absolutely right. My team, myself, the brand team, our CMO, we need to carve up that marketing budget and put the right amount behind content. At the moment, everything you've seen really is only 3 to 4% of our overall spend. So in terms of over-investing in content, I think we're in a really good place. In terms of the ROI, well, our metrics were set up in first. So for us, it's to be number 1 in the insurance category, number 1 in the finance category, and in the top 5 for top 20 brands in Australia. So share of voice is a very important thing. Engagement is a very important thing. We've mapped it at our customer journey, so it makes sense to the business as to why we're in that space, and that has a lot of value. In terms of how many insurance policies is it selling, I don't think I'll ever be able to answer that. But the same that you can't answer how many insurance policies did that outdoor billboard sell. So I'll compare it to most things we do in marketing. The only thing that is proven is search. Everything else is rudimentary, so I'll bring it back to that if I can.
Thank you.
That's it?
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.